Hey, what's up, guys? The video today is about, well, it was really me and my son. I was driving around where I grew up on Lake Livingston. That is where I learned how to do all my fishing, walking the bank. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about Livingston and what's really going on with some of these lakes. So many people want to blame so many things. A lot of fishermen want to blame the demise or lakes getting bad because of fishermen. I think we have almost little to nothing to do with lakes getting good and bad. I think it's all Mother Nature. Now, these lakes are man-made. There's only like one lake in Texas that's not man-made, and it's Caddo. But every other lake is man-made. So yes, we do, although we have something to do with the demise, we also kind of created them. So there's some things we do, not as fishermen, but just as managing the lakes, building seawalls, building things around the lake, that we do have impact, but nothing like what Mother Nature does. So I'm gonna show you what Mother Nature does to Livingston and how it has taken the lake that I grew up on it was way better even before I got there, before I was alive, right? But it was pretty dang good. And then it's just slowly gotten worse and worse and worse over the years. There's been time where it's rebounded, and the rebound only comes from one thing. Always one thing. Every lake that I know of, just about, that has rebounded and become this like phenomenal, sometimes better than when it ever was created, is from one thing. I know for some of y'all, if you're a fisherman, we all want this. If you're not a fisherman and you're a guy who lives on the lake, a lot of times you don't want this. However, it's still hurting your lake. You just don't realize it. And even a lot of people that live on the lake, there are pockets and creeks and bays that if this had happened, they'd still have it. Because a lot of people owned waterfront property that's not waterfront property anymore. And they can't even get out of their creek. And so their beautiful lake that they once had and was able to drive out of their creek with their boat, they can't even do anymore. So it does affect them. There's some ways to get around this. There's some ways to help it. But on the fishing side, listen closely. I'm not a biologist. It's just, I've been around for quite a while now, and I've seen it happen to all these lakes. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So it would be minor little fixes. It would be temporary fixes. But hey, I mean, they would be fixes for a little bit. All right, listen up. Okay, so, well, this is interesting. I guess you can fish from this side. Very interesting. This was not here. This was all water, all the way to back there. So all this should be underwater. When I was here, this was all underwater. Yeah, I guess it is pretty cool. Like, so the pond is about half the size of what it used to be because of this thing. They did not build this, you can see. But like, I used to put my canoe in here and fish in here. So when I first started, it was all grass around this whole thing. This was definitely not here. Like I said, you could see that it went way back there. That was pretty open because there was a house back there. It looks horrible. I guarantee. No, I guarantee it. So it was like 7-8 foot in the middle. I bet you it's not more than 3 now because of this. So this is tomorrow's thing. This is right here is what's happening to all the lakes around. Like, so many lakes, this is happening. It's just silt. There's just silt comes in, and you can see where the water rushes in. You can see this is where the water rushes in, right through here, right? And over time, over floods on some of these lakes, they're like this. And this is just a stupid pond. But since it's around Livingston, this is what you get, is this mud silt. Yeah. And it rains and it brings in the silt and it freaking shallows up these lakes to where it attacks the creeks first. So they can't go back in creeks and they can't spawn, and it does it all around the lake. And it's just mud. You get lakes that have hard bottom and things, and they have depth and they have all the things that make a lake great. The silt comes in here and ruins it. So that's happening, and I'm gonna show you on a full scale of how that's happening, right? On Livingston. Come on, let's go. We got more stuff I want to show them. So anyways, this place, now the water's normal right now. This place used to be 8-9 foot out there in the middle. This looks like the most unbelievable fishing. Like, this looks really good. And it's not bad, but the water's like normal. But it's only about a foot right there, or 8 inches. It's not deep. And so even though it looks like the most phenomenal shoreline in the world, if the lake comes down a foot, man, there's no water anywhere near any of that stuff. So it's not that great. Out there it used to be deep, but now it's all silted in. It's like, you can probably, where that gator was swimming is probably like 3 foot. What? Yeah, it used to be really deep. And that's what happened to all these places. I'm gonna show you other places around here. Like I said, from the outside looking in, it looks phenomenal. It's like, whatever, Todd, I could catch a fish right there. I'm telling you, even back then it was hard to catch fish around back here. You could only catch them where there was some deep water. This place was good. This place was good because it's still deep. Those rocks and all that stuff where I showed y'all, those weren't down there when I first got here. It was like 10 years later that they put them in. It didn't help anything. It was actually better when it was natural. I understand why they put them in. It was eroding away, but the erosion was it was going to be fine. They just, look, people do things because they want it to look nicer, not because it's actually going to make things better. So putting these seawalls, like, some of these seawalls are okay to put in, but for the most part, they just want them to look nicer. Most of the seawalls stop erosion, but they also, to me, that's where the silt piles up on them, and so it actually makes a shallower bank. All right, I want you to go to the other side. Take a left. So this is the back, and you can't see it. I get it. Like, it sucks. I would love to walk down there and show y'all, but that's the back of Indian Creek. And we used to drive all the way to the back of Indian Creek, all the way to the bridge back there. At some points in time, yes, we did get on pad and run it over sandbars and stuff, like bad sketchy stuff. But I knew what we were doing. Very tight water. We did it. You can't even do that now. I think for like the last 10 years, you can't even get in the back of Indian Creek. So, once again, silt. So in the back of Indian Creek, I used to go back there and sight fish. Back in the back, there used to be hydrilla back there. Me and my buddy Eddie won a lot of tournaments back there at certain times of the year, and it was just phenomenal. And then I used to put my canoe way in, like, at the it's kind of like Indian Creek store marina. It's where the road goes over by the bridge. I used to put my canoe back in there and go way up the creek, like where boats couldn't even go, and catch fish. There was tons of bass back there all the time, and they used all that for spawning. And they used this whole area for spawning. But it's not just that creek. It silted up all around this entire creek, all the sides of it, and it's all bulkheaded up. There's no, bass aren't just going to spawn on silt, and it's just not going to happen. And so, yeah, these places, they just don't have anywhere to spawn. They can live here, they just can't spawn. They're just not going to spawn on just mud. So, like, you could stick a stick in the ground and it go down 5-6 foot because it's all just silt. Like, you wouldn't want to walk out there, you just sink. Bass can't spawn on it. It's just bad. And there's one way to cure this thing. One way, and it's happened. No one around here would want this to happen. But if all they did was, you'd have to do this about every 10 years. But if you did this about every 10 years, drop this lake for about 2 years. They did it once for the hurricanes and stuff, or when it used to have a drought, we'd see it 5, 6, 7 foot low. And you could walk out on Livingston, like where I was catfishing and stuff. You could walk out there 100, 150 yards. And what happens is this entire lake just grows stuff. Senny bean trees, everything would pop up. And then this is the main thing. So that helps it. That's one part of it. The second part is this. As those things silt up, and as those creeks silt up, they build higher and higher, and the creek still has to run through there. Now it kind of gets dammed up a little bit, right? But a flood will make a new little creek, like a little runoff, and it'll eventually get to the lake. If you made it low like that, what happens is on those big floods, it's going to flush all the water and silt further till it hits water. So if that water is now 200-300 yards, right? If you make the lake, so now there's water all right there. But if you make it to where there's no water right there, and there's water here, and all the creek right back there, when it floods, it has to create its own river again, its own creek, and it'll flush out a creek, and it'll still be kind of silty on the sides. But what'll happen is if you flush it all out here, and now that sandbar's out here in 9-10 foot of water instead of in 2, when the water comes back up, the sandbar's irrelevant out here, and you'll have that creek again for a couple more years. And on the sides of the creek, you'll have all the vegetation and everything else like that. That bottom will harden up and not be silty as much anymore. And you will have growth again, senna bean trees, you'll have the senna bean roots, things like that. It'll make it hard, and then you'll actually have a place for them to spawn. You'd have to do that every 10 years. You'd have to lower it. None of these people want that. They all want their silty little lake to have water so they can come up here, twice a year and use their boat. That's how you'd fix it. Go. No one wants to do that. I get it. But we could fix it. Or you just have to do it every 10 years. After about 10 years, the bass would die off. Every year would it would be good for 3 or 4 years. About the 4th year would be phenomenal. And then the senna bean trees would die off, like things would die off, but the bass would be here. And the bass would grow up, and you'd still be able to catch them because, like I said, they can live. But that's how we can fix it. That's the silt problem on Livingston and a bunch of lakes. So that's why you see a lot of lakes that are low, that like have a drawdown, and not like I'm not saying like the Tennessee River lakes and stuff like that. Although I think it helps for sure. But if you could do it on purpose, and they could drop this lake just like they're doing Rayburn right now, like them dropping Rayburn 6.5 feet to fix the dam. We haven't had that on Rayburn in a while. And if you look on Rayburn, there's little grass seeds and everything growing all over where there used to be water. So especially up north where grass doesn't grow anymore. I'm not saying it's hydrilla. I don't know the whole process because I'm not a freaking, what do you call it? What's a plant? Autonomous? I'm gonna get that wrong. I'm gonna get killed in the comments. Yeah, there's a car coming, so get over here on the side of the road and just stop. Slow down. Right there, just stop. All right, go. Botanologist. What's a plant? A studier of plants. What's a studier of plants?
Study of plants?
Yeah.
Wait, no, I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. What are they teaching you in the 5th grade? Are they not teaching you that stuff? Public schools. Anyways. So yeah, I know the seeds are there forever. I swear, like hydrilla they can be 10 years dormant. And I know once it gets air and the sun and all that, and the water comes back up, hydrilla will start growing there. But it's also like these senna bean trees that grow. They grow instantly. Willow trees grow instantly when it goes like that. That's what helps lakes. So I love, floods are okay every once in a while, but a lake dropping and getting low, it might hurt it for a year. I say it does. It's better in the long run. And the longer it stays low, that's why all these West Texas lakes, Amstead, Falcon, Travis, any of the Choke Canyon, any of these lakes that happens to, they come back. The O.H. Ivy. O.H. Ivy was a freaking pond for years, and it grew everything. Now it's the best lake in the country. They all do it. Huh? Left. That's the way to fix things. Livingston isn't a great fix, but I'm telling you, a drawdown, hey, you got to go all the way to there you go. That's how you fix it. And I'm not even a biologist. You fix these lakes, more bass in them. I don't care if people have to wait without any water for a year. Get over it. Look, man, we care about bass. That's all we care about, right? Are you listening to me?
No.
Golly. Yeah, good. Pay attention to the road. All right, I'm gonna hurry and do this. I'm gonna try to explain this as much as possible. This right here is Wolf Creek. This is the best example on the lake that I can show y'all. Okay, when I grew up, one, yes, that point was there where the RVs are at, okay? But it was water. This right there is not land. It's not supposed, well, it's land now, but it's not supposed to be. So that dock used to have 4 foot of water on it. From there to on that other side of the water, that was all just water. It was all 8, 9, 10 foot of water all out there. I've smoked on them on that log right there, down that bank. I can walk across there right now. I can walk across all that. Like, that whole bank was the best bank. That was always pretty shallow. Those cine bean trees right here, that whole point that goes out there with those logs, that was not there. That was 5, 6, 7, 8 foot of water. Okay? This, try not to get run over on Labor Day. Those big cine bean, there's trees growing right there. See that tree right there? This was the bank. That was the bank. That was all water. In the Bassmaster Top 150, they had the guy on camera. He caught a 10-pounder where there's land now. Okay? That creek I used to put my canoe in and go way on back there. You can't even get to here. I do see some perch beds right there. But you can't physically, like, I don't know if you can, maybe you can get your boat there now, but maybe, I don't know if you can get across that. I think I went there the other day in a jet ski and couldn't get across that. See, there's that sandbar. Remember that sandbar I was telling you about? That when the lake gets low, there's a sandbar way out there. If the lake got, say, 7, 8 foot low, all this would be dry. The sandbar would start way out there in deeper water. And as it would flood, that water would come through here and make the creek again. Now, you wouldn't get that again. But what happened is you would wash all that out. And it might be 7, 8, 9 foot deep. And you'd have a creek now to get back in here. It wouldn't be as good. But all those cine bean trees like that, they would grow on all this stuff. On all the bank. Or where the water is. Anywhere where there's water now, and then you hit, if the lake got real low and that was all just dirt, it would look like this, and then the water would come back and you'd have cine bean trees like that and 4 or 5 foot of water. This lake would be top 5 best lakes in the country, Texas. Not the country. You wouldn't go out there and catch 10-pounders, but you could come through here with spinner baits all day long and just smash on 2, 3, 4-pounders. That's what would happen in a matter of 2, 3 years. But that's what it would take, is dropping this thing. But you got to realize, there's not another creek for another 4 or 5 miles till you hit Stevens Creek. There's not another creek until you go 5 or 6 miles. There's one little bitty one, but you can't even get in that one. The next creek is Indian Creek. And then after that, all the other creeks are dried up till you hit the dam. So for 10, 12 miles, the only 2 biggest creeks around here are silted in where you can't get to the back. That's what's the problem. And it's like this all over the lake. That's why this lake isn't any good. The Forge, tons of shad, tons of white bass, tons of catfish. The reason there's so much catfish is because the shad, they have plenty of fish to eat. There's nowhere to spawn, nowhere to live. And if they're little, they sure don't have a place to live. Even if they do happen to find one place to spawn. That's what would help out. That's the deal. All right, I hope y'all enjoyed that. It is depressing for me to go back to the lake that I once grew up on and loved, and all these places where I used to catch fish. And, you know, I was talking to my fishing partner. I saw him down there that weekend. We grew up, went to high school together and all that stuff. And I was going, man, could you imagine like growing up now? If we were a little kid, all these things that we once were able to do, can't do anymore on that lake. That's the stuff that was really depressing. Like if my son grew up here, he wouldn't be able to do any of that stuff I did. That's what sucks.